Hi, I'm Allie. Join me as I show you how to do these Dreamtime Square Crystal Earrings. It's a very simple way to bezel a larger crystal stone that I think you'll find really helpful for some other designs as well. If you need any materials, go ahead and look below the video in the description and we'll put links there to get back to our website. Gather up your supplies and let's get started. So to start this project, we are going to be using 11 O's, 8 O seed beads, and 2mm beads. In my sample piece, I did use 4mm beads in place of the 8 and the 2mm crystal. So if you have a 4mm bead that you would rather use, you can do that anytime I pick up the 8 crystal 8 variation. We're going to start off doing a cushion Potomac crystal. So it's a little bit of a squared crystal, and we are going to basically play on that square shape. And we're going to create a square base and a square bezel, and then we're going to bring around to the front and kind of decorate from there. So to begin, I have a size 11 beading needle here with some size 6 black or smoke dragon thread. I'm using that versus the white just so you can see it a little bit better. And the first thing we want to do is create our box in the back to hold our Rivoli in place and create that bezel. And I've strung a total here of my two groups of my 24, or my two groups, excuse me, of my 12 beads. So I want you to think of this as 4 groups of 6. So you're going to have 6, 6, 6, 6. 4 6s there are going to make 24. I have my 24 beads on my thread and needle, and I'm dropping it down to the base of the thread, just holding enough that I can go in and that I can tie this off into a loop. So we're going to make it a loop, and then what we're going to do is make it into a squared shape. So I have 2 knots right there that we're going to pull nice and tight, and to close that up and make sure we don't have any extra thread showing. Now taking our needle, go ahead and sew through the next 6 beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Once you're through the 6 beads here, I want you to bring your thread and needle out. And then we're going to start to do an extra bead. So we're going to add another bead in here. And that's going to happen post us making a little bit of a section here that is going to work for doing some netting. So our first portion, we are going to do 5 of our 5 of our 11 O seed beads, followed by an 8, 2, 8, and then 5 more. So we have 1 seed bead, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 8, 2mm, 8, and then the same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now those 6 seed beads that we just sewed through, I want you to sew back through them one more time. So we're circling around, going back through those 6 seed beads and bringing our needle and thread out. That's going to create a little bit of a loop with those beads, and they're just going to sit off to the side. Prior to going into the next 6 beads, I want you to add 1 11 O seed bead, and then you're going to sew through your next 6 beads. Once you come out of those next 6 beads, go ahead, just like we did, and do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 11s, 1 8, a 2, and an 8, followed by 5 more 11s. And then once you have those on, back through the 6 beads that your thread was just exiting. After you exit through those 6 beads, put on your corner bead, an extra 11 here, and then through the next grouping of 6. So I've got 2 more of my little pieces to go, and adding in that extra little seed bead in between your groups of 6 before getting your little loops of your netting here will make it nice and squared. So go ahead and make your 2 extra loops, and then we're going to start closing it up to get our bezel. So as you make your last little loop here, going back through that portion of 6, I want you to remember to make sure you put in your extra 11 O seed bead there, just to make it nice and finished and squared. You're going to go back through the first original 6 beads along the line here. And you can see this nice kind of open shape. From here, go ahead and step up, meaning we're going to get to the next level. I want you to go through the 5 seed beads that sit on the first little netted loop and go through the 8 2mm 8 O seed bead. Once you're out the 8 O, we're going to connect to all of those top sections. To connect to those top sections, we're going to do the in-between section here of beads, and that's going to get our cushion bead set in. So we're going to do 1 and 2 11s, followed by an 8, followed by 1 and 2 more 11s. Go over to your next little loop here and go through the 8 2 8. Once again, 2 1 2 and over. As you go over, it's not till you really get to the 4th one that I start to really pull tight and then need to put my cushion inside. Once we put our cushion inside too, we are going to reinforce the thread since it is going to hold our Rivoli in place, or our cushion bead rather. This technique can also be used for all different shapes of crystals, creating a base or a little basket for them to sit in, and then creating the netting along the side. As I get that 4th one in here and out, I'm going to lay my crystal in place and give a nice tight pull. And as you'll pull, you'll notice that it'll hold the crystal in right away. It sits exactly like it needs to. And like I said, we're going to reinforce. So we're going to go back through all of those groupings along the side of our seed beads that we added through the 8 crystal 8. And as we pull, it'll tighten this up and make sure to hold in that cushion. If you want to, you can even put your wire guard on at this point and keep it nice and simple like that. And this is kind of the most simple bezel that you can do. Going around and reinforcing. And then after we're around and finished going around all 4 sides, we're going to add another row of seed beads just for a little extra added bling and design. And again, I always reinforce the line of thread that sits the closest to the crystal on the interior, because you do not want to lose that crystal. And you'll really be able to tell as you go around and finish this portion of tightening up by adding another line of thread and doing that pull. You'll really get to start to see that crystal shine and take place there. When you flip it over too, you should be able to see that it's sitting right in place with the sides of the crystal coming out all of your little areas of your netting. From here, I want you to bring your thread and needle out after one of your groupings there at the top, just like we connected onto. And instead of going in and doing anything else, we are going to add 6 seed beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. After those 6 seed beads are added, turn your project to the side and you're going to sew through, once again, the 8 to 8 along the side and bring that down. Again, 6 seed beads go on. And once those 6 seed beads are on, go to the next area where you have those grouping of 3 beads and put that on there. From here, we've got 2 more sides to do. Into the next. And then another one. Once you've got those 6 beads on, take your thread and needle back through that first 8 millimeter, 2 millimeter, 8 millimeter. And you can see my thread and needle naturally wants to go into the seed beads that I just added along the side. Looking here to show, you can also stop at this portion. What we're going to do is force our beads to sit a little bit in a diamond by sewing through the first 3 out of 6 seed beads that we just added. Grab a 2 millimeter bicone and then sew through the next 3 seed beads of that grouping of 6. So sew through 4, 5, and 6. Now that's a tight space, so what's going to happen is it creates a little bit of a point. Sew through the next 8, 2, 8, the next 3 seed beads in that grouping of 6, add a 2 millimeter bead, and sew through the next grouping of 6 seed beads. Down through the side there, nice tight pull, and then once again out through 3 beads, add a crystal. And you can see the nice thing with the netting that was created for this dreamy pendant or earrings is that you can really kind of go however you want to from here on out. You can add extra crystals in, you can do another layer, but that original netting is what holds our cushion bead, that squared crystal, in place. Going through, then you can see I've gone through all the sides. I'm going through my seed beads here, back through to the start, gives it that nice pointed effect. That nice pointed effect, then we are going to catch on to one of the points. We're going to go through this first point, and we are going to use a wire guard to connect along the top to make this really stand out. To connect along the top, this wire guard, we're actually going to do a little trick, which is cover some of it and make it a little bit less seen with some of our 8/0 seed beads. The 8/0 seed beads have a large enough hole to go over some of your wire guards. Coming out the top of the crystal, go ahead and add an 11/0 on, an 8/0, and then go into your wire guard. If you've never used a wire guard before, you are going to go up through one side of the wire guard. It is a U shape. It has an opening at the top, and you're going to go down through the U shape tube on the opposite side. Pull that nice and tight, add another 8 and another 11/0 seed bead, and sew into the opposite side of the 2mm crystal that your thread is currently coming out of. When you give a nice tight pull there, it will pull that wire guard. If you need to, you can separate it out a little bit. It'll pull that wire guard down into the 8/0 seed beads. So you can see mine just needed a little bit more separation to do so. From here, we're going to reinforce, going back up through the seed beads, back up through the wire guard. Make sure your thread is going to sit right inside of that wire guard, down through the opposite side and the beads associated with it, bringing the needle down, and that will pull those right into the top. From here, we want to get rid of our thread and needle, and we want to bring it towards the back, towards that starter thread. So we're going to go back through that 2mm bead that our thread was coming out of, so we balance it out. Then we are going to go through the netting that we've created so that way you don't see any extra thread, and bring it down towards that center back. I'm going to go through the 3 seed beads that sit after the 2mm crystal, as well as the 8/0 seed beads, the 2mm crystal, and the 8/0 seed beads, bringing the thread out the back. From here, going down the back netting through those 5 seed beads there. And once I do so, my thread is right near the back here. I need to sew over through my line of 6 seed beads along the back, that original grouping of 12 and 12. And once I bring it out that back section here, I'm right at where the starter knot is. I get to just take those 2 ends and tie them together. These earrings really are some of the most simple ways to bezel this cushion bead and get that nice square look. From here, you're going to burn off that thread edge, and then all you have to do is go in here, grab your wire for your earring. Now, this one here, I have to go back up through the back. It usually doesn't have enough room to get that ball through it. So what I want to do is I want to go up through the back, and then that ball will stick right at the front. Up through the front, rather. So rather than in through the back, in through the front there. Twist that around, and then close up your ear wire. That's a nice, easy way to finish these really, really super simple cushion bezels with a netting design along the back. Simple, fast design that you can make and wear that same evening to go out. Thanks so much for joining me in creating these Dreamtime Square Crystal Earrings. They are quick and easy to make, creating that netted bezel. Remember, if you need any supplies or want to check out more color options of the crystal cushions, you can look below the video in the description. We'll put links there to get back to our website. As always, post your pictures of your cushion bead earrings here in our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for more inspirational designs.